Hello everyone, this is Project RedSands, or otherwise known as just RedSands. This is sort of my attempt at making like a FPS kind of Destiny-ish looter shooter video game. Um, so far I got some pretty basic things to work, such as, picking up items and opening chests and stuff. Some stuff's a little bit buggy, but that's alright, it's still early stages. And I got some menus to work. You can equip gear, unequip gear. So for example, use the boots. Obviously, these icons aren't going to be the final version of that. Same thing with the weapons. They all work pretty smoothly. Got certain animations to work, gunfire, damage numbers, that sort of thing. Hopefully, in the future I'll be able to add more content on YouTube more often. So far I have another channel where I post, more videos that are like updates like this, but more like they include more jokes and memes and stuff like that. This I wanted to be more serious and like kind of explain the things that I'm dealing with, certain bugs, issues, and just updates in general. For this video, I'm just gonna kind of introduce the game and my vision for it and what I want to accomplish with it. So, as I was saying before, Destiny is sort of like kind of what I want to go for in terms of like aesthetics and gameplay. But of course, I don't want it to cost an arm and a leg, so graphics aren't going to be as great, but I'm going to still try a little bit here and there. Animations obviously aren't going to be as great either. But I just want the core gameplay to really reflect that the sci-fi looter shooter genre. So far, I spend a lot of time in the UI design with the stamina bar on the upper top of the screen, and vigor and soul shield, which are going to be two separate stats. One is more like a regenerating shield that doesn't matter, or it does matter where you get hit. For example, like if I shoot this character in the head, that does more damage versus the body and versus the arm. That's gonna apply different damage effects to the actual shield itself, but it will be able to regenerate. And then eventually, when the bar gets low enough, this is probably going to take a while. Let me see if I have a. Eventually, when the health gets low enough to that little red bar right there, if you start doing locational damage to the arms or the legs or the body or the head, it would apply different effects to the character. So adding a bit more depth to the combat. So like for example, if I break the right arm, then the character won't be able to use their main weapon or the right armed weapon. For on this character I'm using a gun, so if I were to lose my right arm I wouldn't be able to use that weapon, and I would only be able to use whatever's equipped in my left hand. This little thing you see in the middle of the screen that switches from left to right, that's a directional input from the mouse. So if I turn right, it shows a little arrow pointing right. If I turn left, it shows it pointing left. This is so when I include melee combat, which I had working in previous updates. Right now it's sort of all buggy because of the animations for the swords. For example, it has like the character turned all like weird, but this little directional thing right here affects which way the sword swings. And eventually when I add punches and different I don't even know what to call them, gun butts, where you like kind of bash people with your weapon, you will be able to directionally choose where that weapon goes. And the animations I want to be fairly fast and high paced, so that way it kind of matches the gunplay a bit, because obviously it's kind of hard mixing melee combat and ranged combat, especially that ranged combat includes guns, because there's certain advantages and disadvantages to using a gun, which is where the soul shield comes into place, where I will eventually add different modifiers to the soul shield that will make it so that it's more resistant to bullets, while the vigor is more resistant to melee weapons. So that way, you can customize your character and decide different things to equip depending on, what enemies you're going against, or build your character how you want to build it no matter what. So if you want to have like a healer that uses a sniper rifle, you can do that. If you want to have a tank that uses specifically two shields, on one on each hand, you could do that. you want to be some roguish type character and use a warhammer, go for it. I really want this game to be about kind of skill expression, self-expression through combat and surviving the world. And so far, of course, this is all like kind of, I don't want to say up in the air, but it's a lot of stuff that I thought about and kind of planned that already, but I haven't implemented it yet. Obviously, you can only see that I implemented the locational damage and the fact that it does damage at all. But there's a lot more, I need to add different buffs, debuffs, healing. I'm currently working on something with the stamina. I'm not sure how I want to implement it yet, if I want to implement it yet. But the stamina currently doesn't regenerate automatically. See, if I stop running, the top white bar on the screen, it doesn't come back up until I hold R on the keyboard. So that way it kind of balances itself out with people who use guns, because if I run out of bullets, then I have to reload the gun, and that takes time. So I'm not sure if I want to implement that, but it's just something I'm thinking about. Of course, that's something I'll be testing later on as I get people to try out the game and have different testers and etc. But that's it so far. Abilities don't really have any point yet, because there's like nothing else in the game besides damage and receiving damage and stamina. And hopefully in the next update I'll have a lot more to show.